Hey guys. I I don't need notes for this one. I just don't know where to start. I was trying to joke around a little bit and lighten the mood before I made this video because it's going to get quite uncomfortable for me. I debated whether or not to be on video for this, like, you know, on video, or to make it like I did with the I was wrong video. And I'm not entirely sure what the best answer or outcome is, but we're going to try and do it this way. Because I feel like if I'm going to speak on this, I need to be brave enough to just say it. And regardless how it comes out, whether it's messy or difficult, I mean, it happened. And it happened to me. And I don't know if there's anybody else that it happened to. So I guess we start at the beginning. Um, Years ago, I had started following Gabby. This was before the whole expose, I guess, of her series where she was addressing Escape the Night, Rice Gum, Jesse, Trisha, all that stuff. This was before that series that had started following her. I mainly started following her for the storytime videos. And I was not invested enough to connect the roommate thing with Jesse at the time. It wasn't until years later that basically she connected those dots for us, or Jesse connected those dots for us. I don't remember which order of events that took place in, but that was mainly what I was watching her for. So that gives you kind of a time frame, like back when her story times were very popular. That's kind of when I was watching her. And I was never part of the fandom. Um, Give me a second. Let me close. Let me close to Spotify, so hopefully it doesn't lag too much on here. Um, so I was never in the fandom. I was a casual fan, I guess you would say, of Gabby. Um, but in those periods of time while she was in her 20s, I was in my 20s, and I saw a lot of myself in her at that time, and I've spoken on that a few times in my videos. Um, and so, in some areas and in some ways, my heart did go out to her for some of the things that she had been through. Especially, there was a video, I know she was with Peyton, and I think it might have been after the Jesse Smiles and Rice Gum and all those videos. I think it might have been after that series. She was sitting on her balcony on her couch, and she was talking about like middle school and high school and bullies, like actual bullies, not the whole memeable high school freaking bullies thing. Um, and and like she was never pretty enough, she was never cool enough, she was too chunky, she was too skinny, like all of these things. She never really fit into a box, and I really resonated with that. And I said, I mean, while she was sitting there crying on her balcony, I was sitting there crying in this space, just like, oh my gosh, okay, I feel seen. I someone else knows what it feels like. Um, and in that way, that's kind of how I resonated with Gabby, was in that kind of level of like, I see what you're going through. I've been through the same thing. I understand why you might feel this way. And seeing that somebody else kind of feels the same way and is frustrated about the same things that I was frustrated about. Not necessarily babies dying on the street, which is valid, but like, I'm not going to make the TikTok screaming about it, but everybody handles their own thing differently. Um, and she, sadly mishandled her fans and her fandom. Um, but at that time, and as things started coming to light, I was of the mind, because I think Jesse was using Jen's account to tweet. I was of the mind that Jen was just a throwaway account of Jesse's, like a vent account. And then she would delete the tweets and then do whatever. I did not know at that time that Jen Dent was a real person. Um, Honestly, I didn't know that Jen Dent was a real person until I saw Jen Dent in the Patreon chat. And that's where I first met her. And that's kind of where our story begins. Um, so I've touched on some parts of that. I touched on the Patreon chat in a video. I touched in a short on the fact that I had commented on Jen's age, and it was more along the lines of like, you are too grown to be acting like a damn child in this Patreon chat. And she took offense to that and called me a bitch, and that's fine. Um, I mean, I call myself a bitch. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm not. I don't know. I'm not a good person. I'm not a bad person. I'm just a decent person trying to be better than I was yesterday or last month or last year. That's all I'm trying to do here. So, um, that happened. And by the end of, which I think I covered that in the Patreon chat video, by the end of that evening, me and Jen and Jackson um, were all just kind of getting along. Everybody at that point had started to see uh, Jen's side of things and understand where she was coming from and why she was so frustrated and why she was still so angry, um, and rightfully so, to be fair. Um, and so there was a lot of grace given in that moment, and that was the time frame where she apologized to me for calling me a bitch, and she was like, you know what? I think you're cool people. Here's my Facebook. Add me. And I was like, all right, yeah, cool. Like, I really don't know you. Like, as far as the whole Gabby thing goes, like, you don't seem like you're all that problematic. You just seem frustrated. You just seem angry. Like, this is your personal Facebook. All right, cool. Like, I'm not gonna leak anything. Like, I'm just gonna be respectful and just be like, thanks. That's so cool. That's whatever. Um, and she invited Jackson to do the same. I don't know if he did. I can't speak for Jackson. Um, so I added her on Facebook and I was like, hey, what's up? It was really nice chatting with you. It was really great. I had a great time. I'm so sorry that you're still going through this. It sucks, and I don't know what's going to come of the Patreon chat. And I forget the time frame, but I want to say it was roughly like a few days later. I think it was, I could be wrong, but I think it was 2 days. It was within a week. The Patreon chat went down. And she messaged me on Facebook and she was like, hey, is it down for you or did they block my account? Um, and this was my first kind of like yellow flag because she had multiple accounts. And she had used them in that one night because they banned the Dent account. So she came back with another account to be able to participate in the uh, Patreon chat. And that was my first yellow flag of like, oh dear God, like how many accounts does she have? And maybe that's not new to anybody else, but that was strange to me because here I was just interacting on my one account. And so she had asked me, did they ban her second account too? Was it just down for her? Or was the Patreon chat actually down? And so I went to check and I was like, it's down for me. If it's down for you and you've been banned, like, I don't know if I've been banned because I was getting along with you in the Patreon chat or if it's actually down. Like, you may need to ask somebody else. But this is, I took a screenshot and I was like, this is what it looks like for me. And she was like, okay. She was like, let me ask this other person. She did. And she came back and she was like, it's confirmed. The Patreon chat's down. And I was like, all right, cool, whatever, fine. Um, and then it wasn't long after that. It wasn't too terribly long. Um, before she came forward with the Gracie, Gabby Hanna tried to ruin my life video. I mean, it was like the Patreon chat shut down. Gabby Hanna disappeared off social media. Alyssa Perrine came out with her video. Jen came out with hers. Adam reacted to Alyssa's. Adam then reacted to Jen's. Like, it was very quick. This was all between April and June, and I think it was late April. I think it was like April 28th, I want to say, give or take. Um, and I think Jen put out her Gabby Hanna video on June 5th. So it was roughly about a month's worth of time that had passed. And Jen had let me know, like, hey, I just put this video out. Um, and like, Gabby's not going to be able to come back from this. And I'm like, oh God. Like, and actually, I take that back. She had messaged me and she was like, I'm in the works of working on something. I can't tell you what it is right now, but Gabby can't come back from this. Like, if she does, she's going to have to really do some asking forgiveness because this is bad. And I have proof now. I have cold hard proof. Gabby can't come back from this. She's done for. And I was like, okay, um, let me know when your video goes up. So she did. And when I saw it, I asked her, just out of the kindness of my heart, of like, hey, do you mind if I use my platform? It's not a whole lot of people, but do you mind if I use my platform? Which I think I had maybe 100, a little over 100 subscribers at the time. I still only have a little over 100 subscribers, but I think it was like 119 or something like that. We've done a lot of growing, which, by the way, thank you. Um, but I asked her, can I react to your video? Do you mind me using your video to react to on my channel? And she was like, no, by all means, feel free. And I was like, all right, cool, fine, thank you. I wanted to ask permission. I do that. I've done it with Prince. Um, as a matter of fact, anything that has to do with him, I send it directly to him and I'm like, hey, posted a video in regards to you, or I posted a video that's relevant to this situation. If you would like me to take your name out, let me know. Or if you'd like me to take this chunk out, and they've been very kind and respectful. And they've never once asked me to remove anything. So I tried to, even when I came forward with the Google Doc, um, I had been in conversations with the Google Doc creator, and I asked them, do you mind if I reference you, not by name or anything, but if I reference that I was in a conversation with the Google Doc creator? And they were like, no, by all means. Like, I can understand why you'd want to make this video. Go ahead. And I was like, all right, cool, awesome. Sent the video directly to them. I was like, hey, if there's any problem that you have with how I said anything, let me know. I'll fix it. And they didn't have any problem. So that's just me being considerate. I'm just showing consistency here. I'm just trying to show consistency across the board. when it comes to either creators or someone that has information that I feel needs to be out there. I try to be very considerate of their privacy, their anonymity, um, their autonomy, that sort of thing. I don't want to just comment and then they be like, oh, well, that was insensitive. I want to ask and be aware first. That's just me. So I had asked Jen, do you mind if I use this video in one of mine? And she was like, no, by all means, go ahead, feel free. And I was like, all right, cool, fine. So I did. I made the video uh, reacting to Jen's video. Now, I would have reached out to Alyssa or Adam um, had I thought that that conversation would have been productive, but considering that there were so many people reacting to Adam's video with Alyssa, and considering how large his platform is, and the fact that I highly doubt he's checking every single message he gets from any size creator unless they are along the same size as him, and I could be wrong, I didn't foresee him seeing a comment or an email or anything like that in regards to me asking, hey, do you mind if I cover this? So I did. I didn't think he would respond anyway. People had already covered it. I took that with a grain of sand and was like, you put it out there for millions of people. I'm putting it out there for hundreds. What damage could I possibly do? Um, so that's kind of where that lies. But anywho, so I'd made those videos, and then Jen started making the Nightmare Blunt rotations, which were great. I was tuning in for every one of those. I loved them. They were great. They were awesome. She made the videos about Adam and about her being bullied. And one thing I will say is everybody's in denial that Adam's fans would antagonize Jen. What I will say, because I saw it before she took her channel down, was people coming into her comment section saying, hey, I'm a mucker and blah, 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 blah. And just being pretty cruel. Same thing happened on her Twitter. Some of them were muckers. Um, so to say that like the muckers don't do this, maybe by and large they don't, but there are strays. Um, and it doesn't matter how often Adam says, don't go harass this creator, don't go bully them, don't speak to them, don't interact with them. It doesn't matter how many times he says that they're going to do what they're going to do, they're going to do what they want to do. And that's the reality. Um, that's the part. He cannot police millions of people. There's no possible way. It's impossible. I think what's more frustrating in that situation is that he took what Jen said with a grain of salt rather than going to her video, or rather than having a conversation with her creator to creator and being like, where are you seeing this? I'd like to see this myself. Um, and I'd like to address my audience if they're in your comments being rude. I'd like to address them myself. And I think that that is where people are kind of disappointed that he didn't go out of his way. He just was like, okay, and he was very like, what's the word? I guess blasé. Like he was just very don't care. It doesn't affect me. Um, but it affected another creator, and a lot of people have overlooked that. And I think that that's a little unfair. Um, because no, he can't police all of his people. He can't police all of his fans. But he could make a statement that Jen could then pin on her video where Adam is like, hey, I see my muckers in these comments, and what y'all are doing does not represent me, and I don't stand by your actions. Y'all need to do better, be better, etc. And then she could have pinned that comment by Adam. So then all of the muckers that came would be like, oh shit, we've been seen, we've been caught, don't do that. Um, I think that would have done a great thing. Is he required to? No. Could that have potentially nipped some of this stuff in the bud? Absolutely. I think it could have. Um, Would it have? Definitely? I don't know, but I think it could have. I think it had the potential to do something. Um, and it wouldn't have become a Jen versus Adam war. Um, with that being said, this is Jen's video. So I want to kind of keep it recentered there, but I have and will point out inconsistencies, and where I think things could have gone better, in my opinion, or how things could have been handled better, in my opinion. Um, just not even a piece of advice, just like a dang, I wish it had gone differently. I wish this had happened instead. I wish this could have become a conversation rather than an argument. And that's just me. That's just me. That's on me. But that being said, the whole uh, Jen getting bullied in her own comments, that did happen. And there were people, whether they were muckers or not, they were claiming to be. They were taking credit for being in Adam's fandom. And that did very realistically happen. And it was very frustrating to Jen. Um, Now, at this time, she was tweeting and making community posts saying that people were reacting to her video and getting it wrong. And so I'm just sat there like, well, I reacted to your video, but you gave me permission. Did I get something wrong? Because I'm pretty sure I just stated a lot of the same points that you made in your video. Like I'm thought I was being pretty respectful. Is this about me? Like, is this in regards to me? Are we making like snide comments about tiny creators? Like, what is this about? And it became this thing of she would give me permission to react to her content, and then she would make a community post saying that someone reacted to her content and got it wrong. Then she would make another community post saying people just need to shut up, stop talking about her. And so I'm just like, oh, okay, you know what? I don't even know if this is about me, but I'm gonna just shut the fuck up because whatever. If that's how you feel, cool. Whatever. Forget the fucking permission. If you feel some type of way, regardless if it's toward me or somebody else, I, loud and clear, bitch, I heard you. I'm gonna shut up. So I stopped talking about Jen, and I went back to talking. I'm pretty sure about Gabby and Leash and like other shit. Um, and probably Adam, most likely. But I pretty much stopped talking about Jen, and the comments and the community post in regards to that stopped. I went on Facebook and I asked her, I was like, look, because that's where we were communicating at the time. It was very intermittently, it was very like briefly. And I was like, look, I don't know if that's about me or to me, or if that's just like a general statement, but I'm letting you know from here on out, like, I'm not going to be mentioning you in videos as far as I can see. Um, I'm not going to be speaking on your experiences with the Gabby stuff or your experiences with Adam. I'm not interested in it. Um, sorry. Um, and that I thought that maybe just interacting on YouTube was enough because I'd go to her video, I'd support her video. I'd make a video, she'd support mine. Um, I made her an intro. She credited it. It was in the last Nightmare Blunt rotation. I made an intro for her. Um, and she used it a little bit, credited it. That was nice. She didn't have to. Um, and so in the Facebook message, I had told her, like, I think just interacting on YouTube, like, I don't want this to be like super parasocial. Like, I don't want to feel like I can't make my content because, like, the content that I want to make because it's going to upset someone, and I also don't want to upset someone. So, like, I'm torn. And if anything that I have said in any of my videos has come across in a way that has actually hurt you, or you feel like I got something wrong or inaccurate, I would much rather have a conversation than a community post that's rather vague. And she came back and she was like, no, 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 that was not about you. That was about these bigger creators that have a duty to their audience to get shit correct. And they're not. They're just they're not asking me, they're not having a conversation. They're just running wild with a load of shit and they're getting it fucking wrong. You haven't done anything. And I was like, okay. And she was like, matter of fact, she was like, I hardly ever check Messenger. Here's my phone number. And I sat with that for a day. And I was just like, oh God, do I want to reach out in that way? I did just say that if she feels some type of way, I'd much rather keep it on YouTube, interactions on YouTube, and that I would leave her alone on the Facebook, even though I've really pretty rarely messaged her on Facebook. It was mainly in regards to, hey, this video just went up, or hey, I'm making a video, or hey, I just saw your video. That was mainly it was very YouTube related conversations happening on the Facebook. Um, and so she gave me the number, and I'm just sat there like, do I want to do I want to entertain that? Do I want to give that a chance? Like, do she said we're good. Like I asked her, and I sat there for a day, and the next day I just kind of went, I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. So I texted her, hey, it's Callie. And we had some brief conversations. Some of it was like appointments, things that she had coming up, when she was going to be moving, how much she had gotten done, um, what her schedule was looking like while she was still working, when she quit her job. Um, and like for a minute, I was like, "Is this really Jen?" And so when she sent me the message of like, "I just fucking quit my job today," I was like, "Oh God," because I did the same thing in January, and I was like, "Oh my God, like, are you okay? Is everything like, how are your mentals?" And she was like, "No, I'm good. It's the best decision I could have fucking made." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, all right, cool." Um, and so we sat and texted back and forth about that and about what the situation was. And then she came forward on YouTube and was like, "I quit my job," and I was like, "Okay, I don't feel like." Someone who didn't even have that information, it wasn't even out on YouTube yet, would have texted me, I quit my job today, prior to making a video about it if it wasn't that person. Um, so I was like, all right, cool. Like that's confirmation for me. Like this is this actual person. Um, and one of the things that I always said, she was talking about like she had oral surgery, and I was like, did you eat yet today? No, you should probably think about doing that. It's like 9, 10 o'clock at night on my side of the world, probably 7, 8 o'clock for her on her side of the world, whatever. Maybe consider eating something. And so from time to time, she would ask me like, "Well, what are you having for supper?" And I'd be like, "Well, I'm having pork chops." And she was like, "Oh my God, that sounds delicious." I'm like, "Well, what are you having?" And she was like, "I have squash." And I'm like, "Ooh, ooh, wait a minute." There's a particular way that I like my squash. And I was like, "Have you ever tried it this way?" And she was like, "Oh my God, yes. Delicious. It's actually how I'm cooking it right now." And I'm like, "Oh, bitch, I'm jealous." So it was very like okay conversations in the beginning. Very casual, very just friendly without obligations at first. Um, it was more of just a chit chat like I would do with the friends I have nearby. Like, hey, how's work going? How's this going? How's that going? How are you feeling? How's things going in your home? XYZ. Um, and so I'm sitting here, I'm like, okay, well, Jen has just been through it. Yeah, I'm just sitting here like Jen has just been through it. She just needs someone to talk to. All right, cool. Um, and I tried to keep it classy and not do the whole like trauma bonding thing. Um, because at the end of the day, she has her traumas and I have mine. And I did not want that to be, if we were going to be friends, I did not want that to be the one thing that we were friends over. Like, I didn't want that to be the shared denominator. The common denominator was just like, oh, we've both been through trauma. And while that can build good friendships, it can also build unhealthy friendships. It can build unhealthy relationships. And it can turn into a competition. Like, there's so many different ways that can go. And then, your trauma can be used against you, blah, 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 blah. I was very, very mindful of that um, moving forward. And so I tried to keep it as lighthearted as I could. We had conversations about like musical artists, and I would send her a music video and be like, oh my God, this sounds like you. And she would send me one and she was like, I love these people. And I'm like, oh, I've never heard this band. It was very innocent in the beginning. Um, and then I don't know which came first. I didn't even know. Like, I wasn't following Jen so closely, as closely as some people were, um, to know that her and the Sixth Spence were collaborating on a video. I never even got the chance to see the 3 hour documentary before it was taken down. I never even got the chance to view it once, to look at it, to see it. And I don't know if somebody's re uploaded it. I would kind of be interested to see how that was handled, to be honest, given what has happened since that has come out. Um, but I do know that that video was made. Now, I don't know as far as the series of events, whether that video came first and then the Google Doc. Um, I know that Paige Christie being upset was obviously after the 3 hour documentary came out, but I don't know which came first. All I know is that it was, I want to say within a 24 to 48 hour time frame, the Sixpence video went up. Paige was rightfully upset about being thrown into this. Um, Adam made his video about Jen in regards to the Google Doc. And then Twitter went wild. And this is where everything starts to take a turn. And this is part of why I don't think people are irredeemable, is because this happened so quickly. Yes, there is a trend. Yes, there is a problem. But this is also a lot of things happening back to back to back to back to back. And I was one of very few people behind the scenes that I knew more than most of the public did at that time. Um, and that very quickly became a witch hunt. Um, Now, that being said, the Google Doc creator, their main gripe, and this was through conversations that I had with them, one of the biggest gripes they had. Yes, the um, the ableism was a problem. Absolutely, the ableist comments were a problem. Absolutely, but their biggest gripe was in regards to Cody because they have their own disdain toward Cody and they have their own experiences in being in fandoms like the Gabby Hanna fandom, and dealing with traumas that they've gone through in their life. And I'm not going to get into that because it's not my story to tell. That's on them. If they decide they want to come forward, then cool, they can do that. Um, but it became huge. It became this massive thing. Um, and Adam took the Google Doc and implied that Cody and Jen were besties. Um, and they were not besties. Um, they were friends on Facebook. That's the part that I have like, I don't know how many friends on Facebook, but how many do I actually interact with? Maybe 10. How many am I actually genuinely really close with? Maybe 3. Um, so to say that someone is a Facebook friend does not mean that you endorse their behavior. Um, and that was one of the other things. Okay. For what? Oh, okay. Hang on. I have to go through my contacts. Um, so where was I at? Oh, so Adam was like saying that Jen and Cody were besties. That was in his video. And so everybody started running with that because unfortunately when a creator of his size says something, it's gospel. And that's not accurate. It's simply not. It's not accurate to say that someone who is a Facebook friend is your bestie automatically. Um, I don't know what Jen knows or doesn't know in regards to Cody. Um, that part never really came up much. Um, Dear God. Um, Sorry if y'all heard all of that. Um, but for me, that was the part that everybody kept getting stuck on. Are your best friends with Cody? Your best friends with Cody? Your best friends with Cody? At this particular point, while everything was going down, Cody didn't even have Jen's number. I don't know if she does now or if they do or whatever Cody's pronouns are. Cody didn't even have Jen's number. Leash did. I assume that Jesse did. I did. And I hardly really knew this woman. I'd known her for a month. She'd known Cody. She'd known of Cody. Let me put it that way. These were her words. She's known of Cody since 2019. How much she knew about Cody, I can't say. I could speculate all day long, but that's not factual. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I assume they blah, blah, blah. No. So I have no idea how close her and Cody were. I know what she told me, and that's the case was she had known of Cody for the past 7 years, and Cody never even had her phone number. That's how. close they were. They weren't. That was her point. They weren't close. Um, and so when the whole Google Doc and everything came out, Jen kind of went wild. Um, and this is the part where I don't want to say that I'm getting ahead of it because I've owned my part. People saw my part. Um, the Google Doc creator saw my part, saw the part that I played. Um, and I was wrong. And I addressed that. So I'm still trying to, in some way, approach this with some form of nuance, but I need to express my experience. So when the Google Doc went out and Adam reacted to his video that very same day, I was not home. I was on my phone. I saw that he had uploaded his video, and the first 10 minutes of it pretty much made me sick. Like I was angry. I was irritated. I was arguing with my phone. Like my husband was sitting right next to me and he's like, "Who are you talking to? Why are you so frustrated?" And I'm like, "This isn't true. This particular part is not true. This is what happened. I saw it with my own eyes." Um and so like I just shut it off and I was like, "I don't care because you've lost me within the first 10 minutes." And then I checked, where was it? I don't know if it was Facebook or Twitter. I checked one of those. Twitter. It was Twitter. And Alyssa was going in on Jen, or at least her fan account was going in on Jen. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening? What the hell is going on? And at this point, I had not yet seen the Google Doc. Um, Alyssa later posted the link to the Google Doc or either her fan account. I can't remember which one it was at the time, but they posted the link to the Google Doc, and I was able to see the document text, but I wasn't really able to see the screenshots. Um, and so I was like, okay, all right. So a lot of this was said X time ago. Like this was said years ago. Or this was said in response to, because I remember some of these comments, these were said in response to Alyssa. A lot of this was said in response to Alyssa. And while no, it's not okay, Alyssa was harassing Jen relentlessly, trolling her, harassing her relentlessly. And so Jen was firing back. Now, one of my stances that I made on Twitter was don't catch me on a road rage day because I'm going to be saying some shit that's way off the wall, that's way out of character for me because I'm pissed. I've said some hurtful things to my husband. My husband has said some hurtful things to me, and it's mainly just we're frustrated, not at each other, but just like we needed to get it out, and we are safe people to get that out toward. So I can say some like just absolutely shitty things, and he's just like, "You feel better?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I needed to get that out. Thank you." Like, and we're not necessarily using each other as punching bags, but it's like when you can't get to therapy yet, when you only go to therapy, when you can only afford to go to therapy once a month, and you just need to get it out. You need to be around in a safe place with a safe person where you can get those emotions out. And sometimes it ends up being me yelling about how dare the grass grow so fast at my husband. Like it and sometimes he's yelling at me because his truck is being a pain in the butt. Um, it's just we're safe people for each other to just vent those things too. And so Twitter, I wouldn't personally take my stuff to Twitter. That's just me though. With Alyssa harassing Jen on Twitter, it made sense for Jen to respond on Twitter to her. Again, were there things she said problematic? Absolutely. Should it have gotten that far? No. Did it? Yes. Um, Now, as far as the whole Muckers thing, that was in regards to the fact that she was being harassed in her comment section on her videos by people who were claiming to be muckers. It's not false. I saw that with my own eyes. Every time that Adam says the muckers aren't doing this, you can't police your entire community. I can sit here and say if they're not the muckers, then they're impersonating muckers. They're saying that they are and taking credit for being a mucker and they're doing horrible shit. Point blank, period. That's the facts. I'm not the only one that's seen it, and you don't have to take Leisha's word for it, but Leisha's seen it. There was another creator. Oh God. Hang on. Let me see if I can find their username. They commented on my video. They made a video addressing something along the same lines as this themselves uh, recently. Let me see if I can find what their name is. Um, I won't bite. I won't bite. Made the same thing. They've seen the same thing. Where yes, there are absolutely people, at least claiming to be muckers, being vile in comments. They were doing it on Twitter. Okay, so we can't pretend that just because Adam is the golden boy of YouTube, that his entire audience are just saints. We can't. Because it doesn't matter how many times he says, don't go do this. There's going to be some outliers that are going to be like, oh, I'm absolutely going to do that. I don't care what you said. Um, that's unfortunate. But again, at that time, I couldn't see the screenshots. I was only going off of the text that was in the Google Doc. And at that point in time, I was just like, okay, this is way out of context. Um, and on Twitter, it started, I think there was like 11 freaking comments. I want to say it was roughly 11 comments within maybe a 10-minute time frame, give or take, on Twitter attacking Jen from Alyssa's accounts or fan accounts or whatever the case may be. Um, Saying justice for Alyssa and this, Alyssa's about to end you and all this other stuff. I mean, it was bad. So I went in and I was just like, absolutely not. This is not how we're going to treat another creator. This is not how we're going to treat someone. This is despicable and deplorable. You literally started this. She responded to you. Now you're continuing to do it again. Like, here we go again. But again, the series of events, the Google Doc, the Paige Christie of it all, the expense of it all, and the Adam McIntyre, all within 24 to 48 hours. And I'm watching this in real time, just being like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. It's just unfolding, 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 unfolding. And while I'm sitting here kind of sick to my stomach watching Adam for the first 10 minutes of his video, just being like, oh my God, what the hell? Like, no, part of this is wrong. Part of that's wrong. I'm going to Twitter and I'm seeing what's happening to Jen. And the first thought that pops into my head is, oh my God, does she know? Is she okay? Because no one took the life of someone into consideration. No one took the well being of another human being into consideration at this point. They were taking the well being of the masses into consideration. And while I will say, yes, hold someone accountable, it's not the same as go poke them with a pitchfork and burn them at the stake. That's not what I mean when I say hold someone accountable. And my comments on you or on Twitter basically said that like you can hold someone accountable without insulting them, without harassing them. You can have a conversation with them. So in those moments, I messaged Jen and I was like, "Hey, is everything okay?" Nothing. 3 hours go by. It's getting worse. And I mean, Twitter is getting worse by the minute. By the minute. So I messaged her again and I was like, look, you don't have to say anything. Just react to this message. Just a little, a smiley face, a heart, a 100, a something, just an emoji. Just react with an emoji. I don't need a grand speech or anything. Just please let me know that you are okay. I see how bad this shit is. And she finally gets back to me. I think it was about an hour or two later. And she said, I was asleep all day. What the hell is going on? So I told her, don't watch the Adam video. Not yet. Don't watch the Adam video. Don't get on Twitter. It's bad. You do not want to see it yet. I know what's been going on behind the scenes. You don't want to deal with this right now. I promise you. And so she's like, is this about the Google Doc? And I was like, yeah, how did you know about it? And she was like, oh, well, the girl that wrote it sent it to me. Now, again, I ended up later in conversations with the person that wrote the Google Doc. And they told me that what they had sent Jen was in regards to Cody. That was it. Not the whole Google Doc. That they had sent Jen specifically the part about Cody. And that they had sent the Google Doc specifically in whole to Paige. And that they had no idea how Adam got the Google Doc. That it must have been through the grapevine. That they until Adam made the video, they had no clue that Adam even had the Google Doc. Um, and that was a little bit odd. Um, but I was like, okay, because at that point I did not know that all that Jen had was the Cody thing. Um, was the little bit at the bottom about Cody. Um, and so I was like, okay, so you know about the Google Doc, cool. So then you know why everybody's like upset about X, Y, and Z. And she was just like, wait, what? And I'm like, well, yeah, that's in the Google Doc, not in the one that I have. Okay. So then she's asking me in text, like, well, what all does it say? And I just very generally said, it's saying basically that you're being ableist. And she was like, oh God, here we go again. And I'm like, okay, you know what? Like, I don't even know. I don't even know if I want to know. Whatever. So that evening, I think it was about 2 hours later, she's texting me. She had called me and my phone was on silent. And she texted me and she said, I tried to call, you're not answering. I need to talk. And I said, I'm sorry, my phone's on silent. Do you still need to talk? I don't know how long ago you sent that. I can call you instead. And she said, yes, please do. I said, okay, no problem. So I call. And at this point, she's saying things like, I'm not okay. In text messages, she had already said, like, can I just quit? Can I just walk away? Like, I don't want to do this anymore. Can I just sleep forever? That's the point she was at. And I asked her at one point, what would Jesse do? Because Jesse's supposed to be like her best friend. And so I asked, what would Jesse do? Didn't get a response to that. Um, that was in text. That was prior to the phone call. But I eventually call her. um, excuse me. Oh my goodness, voice crack. She originally, like I said, she had tried to call me, I think it was 3 times. She tried to call me twice and then tried to FaceTime me once, if I remember correctly. And then I called her back. And given the text messages that were leading up to that point, I'm like, "Oh my god, she's not okay. Oh, she's in crisis. Let me try to help a fellow human." So I call her and I'm like, "Hey, is everything okay?" And she was like, "Hey, how are you?" And I'm like, "I'm good. Are you?" Um, and the conversation was like, "Yeah, I'm okay, but this." And I'm like, "All right, cool, fine. Let's address that." Um, and it went from, "Well, you know that was about Alyssa." "Yeah, I do." "They might not though. So maybe clarify that." Um, she was like, "Well, I just don't know what to do." I'm like, "Well, if I'm being honest and if I'm being a friend, I'm gonna hold your hands when I say this and tell you to put the phone down because that's what needs to happen right now. Like, just don't post anything on Twitter. Don't make anything for YouTube yet. Just let it simmer down. Just let them come to their natural stopping point. They're going to continue to speculate. Don't entertain it right now. It's not going to do you any good. Just put the phone down." And then I guess she was in a conversation with Leash. I guess she was texting Leash at the time. Um, because she had mentioned, like, I even spoke to Leash and I told her about the Cody thing. And she's like, "Oh God, here we go again. Same shit, different year." So I'm just like, okay, so then there's a trend here. I don't like that, but I don't know what that's in regards to. So, okay, if you want to vent, vent. And there were multiple times where I could hear her getting worked up. And my main goal was make sure she doesn't do anything stupid. Don't make sure she doesn't do anything permanent in regards to a temporary problem or a temporary setback or a temporary issue. That's how in crisis mode I was in that moment in time of like, please just stay with us. um, and that was the context of which I went into the phone call was, okay, you're in crisis. Let's talk you down from that ledge. And sometimes that looks like being very agreeable, um, just so they feel at that moment that they are valid, they are worthy, they are heard. The biggest thing you can do with someone in crisis is let them feel heard. Sometimes that looks like being agreeable. So I did. And I wasn't going to be a person who further chastised her in a moment that she was in crisis. I didn't want to be a person to blame if something horrible happened. Um, but I also needed to reflect back to her that she's responsible for her actions. Like, get offline, get off Twitter, put the phone down. Like, be on speaker with me and put the damn thing down so you can't touch it. Um, and when I said that, I really hoped that she was going to put the phone down. Because first thing I heard was, yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, put the phone down. Yeah, yeah. Put the phone down. Calm down. Chill. Don't look at it right now. tomorrow's a new day. And instead, she went, yeah, 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 but I just want to tweet this one thing. And that one thing was about Alyssa. That was the moment that she doubled down. That very moment. And I didn't know it yet because I was in a call. I wasn't watching my social medias at the time. I was engaged in a phone call with someone that I felt was in a crisis, trying to talk them out of themselves doing more damage. And so, like I said, once I got off the phone call, that's when I realized, oh, she just doubled down. Oh, that's not what I meant when I said put the phone down. Like, so then it became she doubled down, she got backlash. She doubled down again, she got backlash. She doubled down harder, she got backlash. It got worse and worse and worse and worse. And I was on a call with her when she said, now, this didn't make any sense to me at the time. It did not make sense to me until later. She said she was going to post a picture of Joffrey. I didn't know what that was really in regards to. She was like, you know who Joffrey is, right? And I was like, yeah, from Game of Thrones. And she was like, all right, cool, bet. And she was like, I'm going to post this on my community tab. And I was like, okay. And she was like, I'm going to say, like, fuck out of here. And I'm like, okay. Here I am thinking that it's in regards to her. Not in regards to Adam, but in regards to her. And I'm like, well, why Joffrey? Because Joffrey's kind of a spoiled brat. Like, Joffrey is not anybody I would want to be associated with in Game of Thrones. And she was like, what do you mean? I was like, well, I think it would make more sense if you were to post Tyrion. Because, like, the entire franchise, at least in my opinion, was like if anybody had given Tyrion 1 ounce of hearing him, if somebody just listened to Tyrion, half of this shit could have been avoided. So, like, if people had just heard you from the beginning about Gabby and listened about Gabby, this all could have essentially been avoided to an extent. And she was like, yeah, 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 but like Joffrey, no, this what I'm doing, it fits more with Joffrey. And I was like, okay, who am I to judge? I didn't realize until later that that was in regards to Adam. So again, being agreeable was my sin in that. Um, didn't understand a lot of the context until much later. But in that same phone call, um, which this is why in one of my videos I was like, I wish I had known what my state laws were because I entered into that phone call in good faith. Someone was in crisis, or so it seemed. I answered the call, or rather, I called them back after they asked me to because they said I'm not okay, and I was like, all right, cool, I'll help. I'm a listening ear. I'll help you out. My state law and the state that she lives in, both of them are one party states. Which means as long as the person who's on the phone, it could be me, it could be her. Either one of us could have recorded the conversation without ever having to say, by the way, this phone call is being recorded because they're one party states. And I wish I had known that um, before I had gotten in the phone call because now I don't know if she entered that phone call in good faith or if she recorded it. I don't know. I don't know where her head is now. I don't know. So in that same phone call, toward the end of it, um, I was trying to keep things lighthearted, trying to keep her from being upset, trying to keep her from breaking down, from crying, from feeling a ton of emotions continuing to pile onto her. And she mentioned Spence. And I'm like, who the hell's Spence? And she was like, you know, Spencer. And I'm like, no. And she was like, the Sixth Spence. I made a documentary with them. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. What about him? And she was like, well, apparently Paige Christie's mad at me. Huh? And she was like, have you seen anything about that? And I'm like, no, I haven't seen anything about that. And she was like, yeah, she made this video saying that we played in her face. I'm like, oh, that was towards Spence. And she was like, oh, so she doesn't have a problem with me? And I was like, I don't think so. Like, she wants you to basically state that you don't agree with the things that Spence says, that you don't stand by the rhetoric that Spence used because that was considered a microaggression. But from what I'm seeing, like, no, Paige doesn't seem to have much of a problem with you specifically. This seems very targeted at Spence. They seem to have and take an issue with Spence. And she was like, okay, all right, cool, fine. Um, yeah, I can offer her an apology. That's not a problem. Excuse me. The sinuses are draining. I'm so sorry. Um, but she was like, yeah, I can offer her an apology. I can say that I don't stand by the words that Spence used. And I was like, okay, cool. And she would, and the same phone call, like it's going from one to the other to another to another to another to another. It's going from Alyssa to Adam to Paige to Spence to Leash to Cody to Adam to Alyssa. It's very difficult to keep up with. And I'm trying because I'm trying to stay on top of whatever she's talking about so I can counter it to keep her from like diving down into the pits of hell and just being like, oh God, I don't want to live mindset. Um, because again, she had already told me what she had been going through, and I'm just like, oh no, oh God. And this is why I always like, this is why I've recently been saying, I've always said it privately behind like YouTube in my real life, but this is why I've recently been mentioning it on YouTube. You never know what someone's going through. Give them grace when you can. So, in this same phone call, she lets me know like Spence is upset. So now they're messaging Spence. This is what I'm saying. Like I can't keep up. It's this is over here and over there and over here and over there and over here. And I'm just like, oh my God, girl, calm down. Put the phone down. Stop. So she's talking about Spence, and she's like, Spence made an apology, and I'm like, oh, good, good. I'm glad they made an apology. I'm glad they could see that like what they had said was problematic, and they were like, yeah, yeah. How are the comments? I'm like, what do you mean? And she was like, what do the comments look like? And I'm like, I don't know. I haven't seen the apology. It's not showing up for me yet. So I go in. I actually type. I have to type in everything, find the apology, click on it, and the comments are reading Spence for filth. Like I'm seeing a ukulele, but I'm not hearing an apology type shit. And so I'm telling Jen some of like what these comments are saying. I'm like, it's bad. Whatever they did, whatever they said, it's bad. Apparently this was not an apology. I haven't even heard it. I don't know. This was not the look. Like I based on the comments, this was not the look. And she was like, okay. She was like, I just needed to know because he's really upset. And um we're gonna go watch Discord. Or gonna go watch Twilight. And I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, y'all have fun. Try and have an easy night. You know, I'm not watching Twilight, but y'all have fun." And she was basically like, "Oh, we're just going to be making fun of this, that, and the third in the movie." And I'm like, "All right, cool, fine, whatever." But it was very strange to me. Um, I'm trying to see. Oh, that was the other thing. I tried to explain to her, like, people are upset about the disabled comments, and she was like, okay, and they can stay mad. And she was provoking it to keep them mad. She was enjoying the fact that they were being mad. And at that point, I was like, okay, maybe she's just trolling. But like time and place, not to sound like Tati, but time and place. This ain't it. This is not the time. This is not the place. This is not what we should be doing. This is not the behavior that needs to be happening. And that was really disheartening. Um, yep, man, they stay mad, and it makes me want to make them madder. Like, um, and this is one of the last things I said to her. This is about Paige Christie. I said, okay, I finished the Paige Christie video, but she was asking me a lot of different questions, like, where is this coming from? Where is that coming from? Where is this coming from? I'm going to read my messages and only my messages so that y'all understand where I'm coming from. I said, okay, so I finished the Paige Christie video, and all she's asking of you, if you choose, is to, in a post, doesn't have to be in a video, and that's what Paige said, say that you don't stand by the sentiments that Spence made toward Paige in regards to her facial expressions because it is factually incorrect and because it is misogynoir. Her video is very fair. Honestly, this is one that if I were in your shoes, I would watch it. She keeps it classy, expresses her concerns. It's genuinely a really good video despite it being about something tied to her identity. I would not be able to maintain myself the way she did, and I know why she did. But regardless, I'd give it a look. Okay? I think that's pretty dang fair. Then I followed that with, oh, the bestie, because she was asking, where in the hell is everybody getting that I'm best friends with Cody? I said, the bestie thing came from Adam in regards to Cody. So yeah, people are taking his word as gospel. Peter Mon made a video, by the way, addressing Adam's video. So he kind of had to watch Adam's interpretation to be able to understand. Also, I kind of had to watch Adam's interpretation to be able to understand where Peter stands and how he's going to discuss things. Have only barely started Peter's video, but it's one of the 1,000 open tabs I have. I said I may say something or I may just sit on it. I don't know. This is a wild ride, though. Sincerely thinking about just dropping a bomb and then being like, in other news, and going about my planned content, which that was my plan. Just being like, okay, this is what I think, and then just moving on. But unfortunately, like, Hello Leash and Adam are back and forth, and so that's not exactly how the series of events took place. August 9th, she tried to call. Um, again, like she had tried to call again, and I was like, I didn't get any sleep last night. None of my alarms went off. I just woke up. And then I told her, because this was the day after having that phone call, because she told me, where's it at? She said, I'm about to pass out. I think I will talk to you tomorrow, probably ASAP. So that was the night, which was August 8th. That was the night that she had called me. So then August 9th, she said, I tried to call you. And that was at 10:47 in the morning. I wasn't up yet. But I told her I didn't get any sleep last night. None of my alarms went off. I just woke up. It was almost 2 in the afternoon. I definitely overslept. But then I followed it with this. I said, I'm going to be so honest. Proud of you for the page apology. Love that. That said, I have stuck my nose in places it does not belong, and in regards to what that may have done to you on Twitter, I'm now going to say that I apologize. Furthermore, I'd like to address some things real fast before I go to this birthday party for a friend of mine, and we can discuss it this evening if you'd like. I want to say something because I care about you, and I don't want this to come across as me judging or attacking you. Last night got me more emotionally invested in what's happening than I expected, and honestly, it made me realize I need to put up some boundaries around my involvement. When you were upset, I wanted to help you feel grounded and safe, and I was genuinely concerned about you. This, this is standing by everything I've said. But when you decided to keep engaging because you wanted to make them angry, and then the situation escalated again today, I realized I can't be the person helping you through the fallout while you're continuing to choose the thing that's causing it. The other thing that made me uncomfortable was being asked to feed you information about other creators. I don't want to be involved in gathering information on people, keeping tabs on them, or becoming part of the conflict behind the scenes. That's just not a role I'm comfortable taking. That was in regards to asking, like, what do the comments look like? What did Paige Christie say? What's Adam's video about? I also want to be clear that me caring about you or being your friend doesn't mean I automatically agree with everything you say or do publicly. I don't want either of us to end up in a situation where my friendship with you is interpreted as me endorsing everything you say online. Some of these boundaries come from things I've learned the hard way about myself. I tend to care deeply and then take on more emotional responsibility than is actually mine. I'm working on not doing that. I can care about you, listen to you, and be here without carrying the consequences of choices that aren't mine. I'm not telling you what you can or can't do, your account, your choices. I'm just telling you what I can and can't participate in because I think it's important that you know where I stand. And then she said, Wait, I asked you to do that? I said, It felt like that with what did X say or how are the comments? I said, No, I didn't mean it like that. I'm trying to. Where's it at? I just wanted to be cautious and make it clear that I'm not going to be another Gracie. Not saying you would do that intentionally, but like Jesse, this is how I would like to be treated moving forward, you know? Avoid misunderstandings and such in the future. Before the Gabby Hanna video, I never would have thought someone would or could do those things. And again, not saying you ever would, but it opened my eyes to, oh God, people are actually like this. And I've had some of my own shitty experiences that make me very cautious. I've had calls recorded without my consent where I've said my honest thoughts and someone ran to who I was talking about in a venting session. I've had the whole screenshot thing happen to me on a less public scale, but it was all still fucked. So I truly do get it, but it's left me a bit jaded toward humanity. These were friends that did this to me at the time anyway. And that was one of the last things that I said to her. I had tried the following day to be like, you know what, let's just try to be friends outside of social media. Like I can be friends with Jen without bringing it to social media. She can be friends with me without bringing it to social media, and it just never felt like that was completely the case. It wasn't that cut and dry that if she was going to be in some controversy as a friend, I it was going to become very difficult for me to either stand by her or disavow her without feeling some form of guilt. Um, and that's my burden to carry. Um, and this situation was so heavy, genuinely, that I needed to get as far away from it as humanly possible. I was not well. I was physically ill. I was not, I was too busy caring for someone I hardly knew who decided to say that I was their bestie now, which, like, I guess because she didn't have anyone to hear. Like, my whole question became, like, where the hell is Jesse? Because isn't Jesse supposed to be your best friend? So now I'm being called the best friend. But it felt as if I disagreed or I stood against something that she did that came into question or that I was next on the firing line. And especially after what happened with Prince, I was like, oh dear God. I just might be the next one on the chopping block. And so after I sent those messages to her, I blocked her everywhere. And I'm not necessarily proud of it, but I do think I said what I needed to say. It may not have given her the peace that she needed in that moment, but I needed to stop seeing all of it. I needed to stop seeing it on YouTube. I need in her community tab. I needed to stop seeing it on Twitter. I needed to stop seeing it everywhere. I needed to stop being anywhere near it. It wasn't safe for me. It wasn't healthy for me. And it felt like it started feeling to me very parasocial. And I didn't like that feeling. And I'm not saying that that's exactly what it was. I'm just saying this is how I felt. And that was what I was kind of afraid was going to happen, is that it would become parasocial to where I wouldn't be able to question their motives or their actions or anything. And I never wanted that to be the case. I wanted to be able to have conversations. I mean, God, I've had really hard conversations with some of my best friends, and that's why they're best friends with me. Is because neither one of us ran from the hard conversations. We heard each other, and we may have sat there in the discomfort, but we heard each other. We really listened. And in a moment where I was trying to help someone, it didn't seem like they were willing to listen. And then they went after someone who really did care about them, who was the whole reason that they even had the information to expose Gabby to begin with. They attacked that person. So it felt really, really horrible to even think, oh God, I've been supporting that kind of person. So yeah, I came out with my video and I said that I was wrong because I was. I was. And no, I don't think she's irredeemable. I think she needs help. I think she needs help. And I hope that she gets it. Genuinely, I really do. I hope that she gets it. I just can't be her therapist, her counselor, her. I can't be everything that she needs. I can't. And I hate that she has experienced all that she's experienced, and I hate that she's gone through what all that she's gone through. But I can't fix that. I can't make that go away. Um, at the end of the day, all I can do is take care of myself, and that means putting up very strong boundaries at this point, and being cautious and being careful. Um, so hopefully she gets the counseling that she needs, the therapy that she needs, the help that she needs. Um, and Jen, if you see this, I'm sorry I couldn't be the friend that I guess you needed. Um, I hope you were able to find someone that is able to be the friend that you need in the way that you need them to be. Um, I don't know. That's my hope. Healing, growth, learning. I hate that this whole ordeal has shifted off of Gabby onto you and Adam, and now to Adam and Leash. It should have stayed on Gabby. It really should have stayed on Gabby. And I know that with the Nightmare Blunt rotations, you were trying to keep it focused on Gabby. But I also understand what that was doing to you, too. That was putting you in headspaces that you didn't need to be in. So I hope that now you can see, hopefully, what I meant when I said put the phone down. Walk away from social media for a little bit. And I know that I told her at one point that if she wants to leave YouTube, if she wants to leave social media behind, it should be her choice. And I stand by that. It should have always been her choice. And I hope that this was her choice. I hope that she didn't feel pressured to make that choice. I'm sure in some way she did. She probably did. But I hope that at the end of the day, she took a look at everything and was like, I want peace more than I want to be on YouTube. I want peace more than I want followers or something along those lines. I hope she wants peace. Anyway, none of what I have said in regards to Jen has been a full endorsement of her actions, but I will never be outright cruel to another human. I don't have it in me. I can call someone on their bullshit. I can hold somebody accountable and I can question their morals and their actions, but I don't have it in me to be outright cruel. And I don't have it in me to say that people are irredeemable or unforgivable. That's just not me. That's not how I operate. So at the end of the day, if Jen wants to come back, I hope that by the time that happens, people are willing and able to give her some grace and that she has been able to redeem herself and take accountability where she needs to. She has to live with herself. Anyway, um, that's the gist. A very long hour and a half gist, but that's the gist of the situation, and where in many ways um, I wasn't thinking logically, where in many ways I was trying to be empathetic and helpful and caring and kind, um, and how me doing that put me into some situations that I really did not want to be a part of, um, and got me too close to situations that I later had to get myself out of because I can be dragged in, but only I can get myself out. And thankfully I did, before too much damage was done. It just makes a lot of sense. The way that things are going right now, it just makes a lot of sense. At least to me. Maybe my train of thought is very different than everybody else's, but it makes sense to me. I can see where all of the pieces are starting to fall. Why people are um, calling out inaction over here, or calling out an inconsistency over there. I can see where those pieces start to fall into place, and I can see where they fit, given what I knew behind the scenes. I hope that you guys take this opportunity to give somebody, even yourself, a little bit of grace. Forgive somebody today, my Lord. Um, and keep in mind that you don't know what somebody else is going through. You never know what someone else is going through. So you can hold them accountable all day long. You can ask them to clarify something all day long. You can say, hey, this was a bad take. This was a bad look all day long. But bullying and harassing to the point of insulting and saying, like, starting rumors, false rumors that Jen abused her patients and clients or her partner or anything like that. You're perpetuating a narrative that is untrue, utterly false, and it's doing more damage to someone that you don't even know and maybe you don't care. But I would implore all of you to think about, what would you do if that happened to you? If someone did the same thing y'all were doing to you? this whole situation is really unfortunate. I hate it. I think people lost their ability to see that Jen indeed was a victim of Gabby Hanna the moment that she became a villain in her Twitter, uh, on her Twitter page. I think that's really unfortunate because that minimizes everything that she's gone through. It diminishes every single thing she's gone through by putting the focus on some horrible crap that she did. And while it's true, it was horrible. A lot of people won't hold both in their hands and say she was a victim and she was a villain. A lot of people will only focus on she did horrible things. And I think that's really unfortunate. I think I think this is probably why I've continued to look at different situations through the eyes of I have been the victim and I have been the villain. And you can be both. You very much most likely are. In someone's story, you are the villain, and in someone's story, you're the hero. And in someone's story, you're just a footnote. That's the reality. And you don't know who you are to someone else. So I'm going to leave y'all with this. Be careful with your words. Be generous with your heart. Be open with your mind. Take care of yourselves. Be mindful while you're online of what damage you may be causing someone else. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe. Be well. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.